Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 Career Mode, episode number 90 today for the British Grand Prix in Season 5. Halfway through the season now, and crucially, it looks like we've just about managed to keep in the first two columns for the engines. Obviously, we did take that penalty back at Monaco, so we do have an extra column anyway to help us out, but it's always good to kind of, or I'd rather have fresher units at the end of the season rather than kind of having to cope with the extra ones already. So good, you can see we're still using column 1, going to practice, and none of them are even at red yet, which is really quite good. So especially the turbo, which has really not been a kind of factor at all, whereas last season obviously we had turbo issues towards the end of the season with Red Bull. So really liking that at the moment, and really happy with where that is all at the moment. And against this guy Kimi Raikkonen, we did some work obviously last episode. If you did miss that, by the way, be sure to go check that one out before you see the rest of this one, episode 89 at the Austrian Grand Prix. We did some great work to just about hang on ahead of Kimi Raikkonen to get the podium in third place there, and hopefully we can try and finish ahead of Raikkonen again at this episode. Obviously the home Grand Prix, so hopefully I can use the crowd a little bit to gain a few extra tenths there, and I'm hoping that Perez there could also go a little bit better. He was lacking somewhat in the second half of the Austrian Grand Prix. Started off really strong, but then kind of just faded away, lost like 3 positions at one point in like a couple of laps. So here's hoping he can pull his socks up here, and I'm sure Hamilton will be going for it. You know, Mercedes generally have gone well around Silverstone, and you know, for us, we've gone pretty damn well. Remember, of course, this is where we won the race in the Renault in Season 3 after doing a pretty damn good one-stop, and I think the one-stop should definitely be on for this weekend with the Force India, obviously with good tyre wear, so we'll just have to see how that goes for the race. But first of all, obviously, we have to qualify for the grid, and you can see, as ever, being Britain, it's raining, so lovely weather, and so we're going to have to get through this session and Q2 on intermediates, and it looks like maybe it's going to dry up enough in Q3 where we may get a dry slick tyre shootout. But for now, navigating our way through the last few corners of Silverstone there, across the line, opposite lock across the line, and we do make it through, thankfully, to Q2. Of course, I say thankfully because, you know, always when the wet period comes out, I get a little bit nervous because sometimes I'm just not on the pace at all of the AI. But there you can see I was matching Sergio Perez pretty damn well, so I was really happy with that. But into Q2 then, things got a little bit tricky. It seemed to start raining a bit more, and the intermediates start to go away a little bit, and we're sliding around a lot more than I thought they would in the village sections. You could see they're going on the curbing and nearly going completely off circuit. So basically you can see going through that same lap, I'm down a lean mixture. I had not fueled it intentionally for 2 flying laps, so I've decided to put that first flying lap in lean mixture, save as much fuel as I could across the line. It won't be an amazing lap time, but now we stick it back up into standard, into maximum, into rich, and we'll go for it on this second flying lap, and we'll just about, I think, have enough fuel to come across the line, and hopefully obviously you'll see that green delta time is going to stay in the green. Still a little bit of tricky navigating village, but you can see clearly gaining a lot more time than we did on that first flying lap. And then Julian Palmer does help us somewhat with a bit of a tow down that back straight towards Stowe, and so it's now about just navigating nice and easy through these last few corners in the dry, let alone the wet. It's a tricky section anyway against the AI to try and control the throttle, and having to tiptoe around basically the last corner at the moment. Sainz ahead of us and Stroll. We come across the line, we're P15, we're now in P10, and it will be by the skin of our teeth getting across into the top 10 shootout and denying Felipe Massa that honour. And Sergio Perez in P7, Hulkenberg going very well indeed, as well as the 2 Red Bull cars in these wet conditions. But as I mentioned, into Q3 there was a chance of it becoming dry. You can see we're going to set onto the super soft tyres. At the moment it's still raining, but as we go onto our indicator on the monitor and we fast forward, you'll see the icons on the weather forecast are going to go towards just overcast. So as I go through the session, about halfway gone, it's going to dry up enough where it's just about going to be good enough for the slick tyres. You can see as we come through the last corner, there is still a few spits of rain coming down on our screen. So, and you can see the sheen on the track. So it still is a little bit damp, but the grip compared to what I just had in Q2 is going to be infinitely better, and the car just felt like an absolute treat to drive compared to what I just had the previous session. So at the moment, Lewis Hamilton on provisional pole position then, so that'll be one for the home crowd, but we go through and skate through Maggotts and Beckett's there as we change down the gears. The back end slid off a little bit as we go through the final corner. Then what is it going to be across the line? And it's going to end up being P6, which is pretty damn decent, I would say. With Sergio Perez in P8, I think we've done all we could really with this car in those conditions. You know, as I said, slippery a little bit, so I'm happy with P6. Just behind Kimi Raikkonen as well, obviously our main rival. So if we get a good enough start, we could be ahead of Kimi already by turn 1. Hulkenberg going well, but a 1-2 for the Mercedes team there. So for the first time, really, they've actually brought out the goods when I thought they would. So many times we've seen the Ferrari just still turn up the wick and turn up in Q3 when it's looked like it's going to be Mercedes all along in Q1 and Q2. So finally, Hamilton sticks on pole position then for his home Grand Prix, and we'll see how that goes. But that gives me some hope that if the two Mercedes, the two works Mercedes cars are going well, then hopefully in the race at least, when downforce isn't as much of an issue in the wet compared to the wets, hopefully both myself and Perez can go forward rather than backwards in this race. And of course, with the one stop probably definitely available for us today with the Force India car, I think it should be a pretty damn good one. So let's see how we can do. Let's go to the grid, and then we'll see what the race is going to pan out to be.
With that then, let's run through the grid order. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Hülkenberg, Kimi Raikkonen, and a Force India, Ricciardo, Perez, Verstappen, and Jolyon Palmer, Massa, Grosjean, Kevin Magnussen, and Sainz, Stroll, Kvyat, Fernando Alonso, and Stoffel van Dorn, Wehrlein, and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid.
So no engine penalties then to talk about. That's going to boost us further up the grid. So we will start in that P6 position. And you can see that one stop then. Super soft to the soft tyres. Not even going to bother using the mediums. And for sure in the Force India, that was really not going to be much of an issue. I think we have some fantastic tyre wear. And so really looking forward to this one. So here we go then to 5 red lights to the British Grand Prix. Round number 10 of Season 5 is underway as lights go out. And it's a good start for us compared to Kimi Raikkonen, who bogs down, as well as Sebastian Vettel. Hulkenberg challenging Bottas into turn 1. We've got Perez on our inside there momentarily, but we're going to keep it up in P5. A little bit of contact was made with Raikkonen, but I failed to see where that actually was. I think it may have been a little bit on the entry to turn 1, but to be fair, I had nearly my entire car ahead of him there, so we just tuck in behind Sebastian Vettel. It's still Lewis Hamilton leading the way then from Bottas. Hulkenberg unable to get round the outside then of turn 2 on Valtteri. We go defensive on Sergio Perez. You can see he's right up our gearbox, and Vettel getting away somewhat, but as we go through Luffield, we should be able to gain a little bit back on the Ferrari car, and Raikkonen is right up the chuff of Perez so far. So all very close, apart from Hamilton, who's starting to streak away already a little bit, and we're still constantly looking back behind us as Perez is lurking and lurking, getting ever closer as we go towards the old turn 1 copse, and we go through there, not quite flat out quite yet on lap 1 with the heaviest fuel of the race, but you can see up ahead of us, and that was Hulkenberg going side by side with Valtteri Bottas. There's been some contact, and Bottas is round. Bottas has been spun round. Contact made between Hulkenberg and Valtteri, and that is very bad news for Bottas. I think he may be out of the Grand Prix. They look like he slammed into the wall, and so yellow flags, no safety car or anything like that. So I'm quite surprised actually, as that's quite a dangerous area to be parked up there. And so that puts us up into P4, Vettel up into P3. We get ever closer to him in Stowe, unable to make any sort of move though into the next corner. He goes somewhat defensive into that chicane, but now let's look at a replay here. So it was Hulkenberg trying to make it side by side, goes round the outside, and then that's a kind of classic just racing instant really for me, as their tyres just connect, and really Bottas should have probably lifted off a little bit more, because Hulkenberg had about half his car ahead. So I think Valtteri can only blame himself really. Hulkenberg I think was trying to give him the most room he could, and we've seen that a couple of times really in seasons gone by on the F1 games really in this area. Very, very tight. One of you has to give the position up. There's just no way, unless you're really braking quite hard, both of you, you're going to go side by side with ease. So now we move on to lap 2 then, and we're right up behind Sebastian Vettel on the left hand side. They're pulling, and we're up the order up into P3. Pretty easy move on the Ferrari car actually. We've got some great straight line speed, of course. Obviously we've done plenty of drag reduction upgrades, and the Force India car is very slippery in a straight line, so awesome stuff. Up into the podium position, but it's not over there, as Vettel now on lap 4 still very much behind us. You can see in the mirrors Perez not too far behind, so this may give Sergio a good opportunity to maybe slipstream Sebastian down this back straight towards the Luffield section. You can see looking back behind me, I'm going to move aggressively to the left hand side then. That's going to break the toe for Sebastian, and look at that then. Sergio goes down the inside, and I'm trying to look back in my mirrors. I think they're going side by side, but Vettel has just about managed to claim that corner and stays ahead of our teammate there. But oh, what's this? Hulkenberg's got issues. He's going slowly, and he's going way down the order. I think that must be a puncture then, or mechanical failure, and he's about to park up there, and that will allow now Perez to get a good run, maybe to send it down the inside of Copse. I think he'll go for it. Yes, he will. Go on, Sergio, down the inside of Sebastian Vettel, and Perez going to try and get up into P3. We're up into P2 towards Magnussen Beckett. Surely Vettel has to lift lift off there and can see the position. Yes, he does, and that is awesome. And in the background, you can see, I think that's Jolyon Palmer's running, to be fair. I think Hulkenberg's actually out this Grand Prix, maybe completely out of contention with some either a failure or a puncture. We'll see later in the replays, but the fighting's not done there because Vettel now is going slowly. Maybe he has another issue as well. We've seen so many times Vettel go down the auto. I don't know what it is with his car, but he just, as soon as he gets overtaken by a few cars, he just goes and exponentially just stops racing very well. Now Raikkonen goes down his inside, and I think that's Raikkonen through up ahead of him there. They still go side by side on the exit, to be fair to Vettel, so he's held it through, but I think Kimi's just going to get that into turn 1, and then you can see one of the Red Bull cars not too far behind him, so Vettel may be losing 4 positions very, very soon, but we're up into P2. Fantastic stuff there, the commiserations to Nico Hulkenberg though, but Perez, awesome stuff to make that move down the inside of Copse. Flat out racing there from Perez, and now he's actually going to maybe try and close up on me. We've not had the best run through Village, so we go defensive to the left hand side. He's on the right there with DRS. I don't have DRS, of course, and so we're going to have to go to the inside line. Perez tries to hang it around the outside. We're going to do our best to squeeze him out, but Perez squirted the throttle, very aggressive squirt of the throttle, and so this is much like Vettel v Alonso back in 2014, and Perez very, very cheeky to get the throttle nailed in there at the apex, and we're forced to stick behind him now, and we're going to have to lift off as we go into Copse with the dirty air. We've not got the run to send it down the inside, so we go flat out through there with Raikkonen not too far behind, and can we now try and come back through Maggotts and Beckett's? Take it nice and easy and just make sure we set up this basically for the best exit we can on this right-hander. Basically get the car straightened up as possible, get the full throttle going as early as possible. Open DRS now. We've got yellow flags ahead of us, but now it's gone green, so that'll be fine for us to overtake then in the slipstream. DRS open, Rich Mix fake to the left, go to the inside, and that's Hulkenberg still to the inside. And as we go through Stowe, yellow flags, virtual safety cars called out, and I overtook Perez under the virtual safety car, so we have to give back the position, unfortunately. So Hulkenberg, you know, gave us the position for P2, but also took away the opportunity to get it back, as we unfortunately had to overtake him just there and then. But that now look at the replay now of what happened to Hulkenberg. He goes through Luffield, all's fine and dandy, and then through the middle of the corner, pop goes that, I think that's the right rear tyre, I think that is, yeah, his right rear puncture. Very unfortunate, because he was literally right up the gearbox of Bottas, looking to maybe make the overtake. And then as we move on to another replay, this was as Perez and myself are fighting. Behind us, Vettel was going 3 wide with Max Verstappen and Jolyon Palmer. He's sandwiched in between. Palmer tries to go the long way round. Verstappen's already made the move, and then Palmer does basically what Perez did to me, sends it to the inside, squirts the throttle, and forces Vettel wide. And I think on the exit, he's just about going to get it. So Vettel has lost 1, 2, 3, 4 positions, 5 really, if you count myself earlier on. And now he may even lose the position to Ricciardo. Yes, he will. Right on the outside of Copse, Ricciardo goes. So Vettel, you must say, definitely, for his sake, I hope he has mechanical issues. Otherwise, that's piss poor driving from the 4-time world champion there at the moment in the British Grand Prix. But the virtual safety car has ended now on lap 6, and we're go, go, go. Unfortunately, not the best exit on the virtual safety car ending, but we do have DRS and Rich Mix going, and we're gaining quite rapidly on Perez indeed, but into the brake zone, getting oh so close, lock up on the left tyre, and just having to avoid making some contact then with his rear right, as I just misjudged how slow he was going to go into that brake zone. Maybe the tyre's a little bit cold after the virtual safety car, a little bit of a tank slap on the exit for good measure, trying just to keep up with Perez, and basically a case of being a little bit patient. I know I have the pace through Maggotts and Beckett, especially the exit of Beckett onto the back straight towards Stowe. I know I have the exit there on him, so we can take this a little bit easier and just make sure we get that as good as we can. So getting right up his gearbox there, getting hit with a bit of dirty air, so to counteract that I've taken a wider line. That's allowed us to straighten up the car a lot faster than we would have if we tucked in the entire way through Beckett. And now on the left hand side, Rich Mix, DRS open towards Stowe, should be a very, very simple move, and we're up into P2 now. But you can see in all of this fighting, Hamilton nowhere to be seen. You can see on the mini-map there, he's going through the final corner now as we enter the chicane, and so he's got all the advantage in the world, and he must say at the moment looking pretty comfortable to maybe take home the home win at the British Grand Prix around Silverstone. But now we move on to the next lap, lap 8, and this is Perez trying to go around the outside. Raikkonen's maybe looking to the inside. Then Perez does very, very well indeed. We go side by side, a little bit of a sidewall grazing between our two tyres, and Perez sticks it to the inside, and fair play to him, completely gets me on the entry then to that corner. And actually meanwhile have to worry about myself behind, with Raikkonen having a little bit of a pinch. So instead of looking ahead, I look behind my mirrors and see Raikkonen and also Verstappen right up my gearbox there, as well as Palmer as well, who's right up the back of Verstappen as well. So unfortunately for Hulkenberg, not going too well, but Palmer looks to be maybe looking good to maybe make those overtakes in this Grand Prix so far. But we move on to lap 10 then, and you can see behind us that'll be Raikkonen entering the pit lane. Myself and Perez are going to continue on. Hamilton has already pitted, so it's going to be a 1-2 at the moment around the British Grand Prix for Force India. Perez in first, myself in second. So we're taking these very long indeed, super soft. I mean, we're already on lap 11, 2 more laps and we'll be already halfway through the Grand Prix. So you can see that tyre wear upgrade kicking in, a real treat for both myself and Perez, not just me. Sometimes it kind of feels like sometimes the upgrades only work for the player rather than the teammate, but we're going to make the move to the inside then, and once again swapping positions with Sergio Perez. So this is kind of the pattern at the moment, the British Grand Prix. Myself and Perez seem pretty damn equally matched, and so I'm pretty much getting what I wanted. I said before it'd be great if Perez could pull off his socks, and at the moment he definitely is doing that. And so we move on to lap 14 now, under the virtual safety car, and so now we're officially over halfway gone of this Grand Prix. Me and Perez are still going on a set of super soft tyres. You can see how worn they are, but the pace is actually pretty damn decent. I mean, let's be honest, it doesn't look like I'm going to be catching Hamilton. I don't think Perez is going to do the same, but we're still keeping pace ahead of the cars behind us, Raikkonen, Verstappen, Palmer, so you may as well go longer, because it's going to mean we get fresher tyres at the end of this Grand Prix. So now on the restart of the virtual safety car, a little bit slow and gingerly on the exit there as the tyre wear is kicking in, and I think it's time to now come in soon enough. But Perez may have other ideas as he gets right up my gearbox and has enough speed to go down the inside of Copse, and unfortunately being the one on the outside line there, having to lift off with the tyre wear also not meaning the car can go completely flat out with side by side with 2 cars there. We have to give him the space, and he's up into P1 once again. We're down to P2. We've got yellow flags that are up ahead. There's another car maybe has issues in this Grand Prix. Now our left rear is at 72%. It's Verstappen now with issues, so that's one less car to worry about then, who was behind us in that chasing pack of Raikkonen to Verstappen to Palmer. So I'm guessing looks like Verstappen also has a puncher, so a little bit of controversy maybe, I don't know. Other cars having their tyres pop, whereas the complete contrast, me and Perez going longer and longer in this Grand Prix. Now Perez comes in, and this is what I meant by Perez maybe had other ideas of me coming in this lap. I wanted to definitely come in on lap 14. We're going to have to continue on to lap 15. So we are going 15 laps on super softs and only 13 on soft tyres. We have done a bit of a bonkers strategy here, and this is definitely going to hinder us somewhat in terms of our fight against Perez. Obviously, he's going to get the undercut, but we will have a little bit fresher soft tyres towards the end of this Grand Prix. You know, in the ideal scenario, if there wasn't that tyre rule, you could just go on another set of super softs, but obviously we have to change the compound of tyres. So we're on to a set of soft tyres then, and we'll go to the end of this race. You can see our engine a tiny bit warm, but that won't be too much of an issue, to be honest. And obviously halfway through this season, pretty much perfect timing there. But as we come out the pit lane then, Rich Mix going, you can see Perez is ahead of us by a fair few bits. So he's got a few seconds there with the undercut. So now with 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix, it's pretty much time just to push completely flat out and just see what we can do. It's going to be a total sweat session really, because I've got some cars behind me, but they're a bit further back, and I've got a lot of time to make up, and so we are literally just hammering the lap times. It takes us to lap 23 then to reel in Perez and see him right ahead of us, and maybe start thinking about reeling him in with DRS. And you can see at the moment going down this straight, we're in standard mixture on the heads-up display on the right hand side. We don't have all the fuel in the world to basically abuse Rich Mix for all of these last 4 laps. So being a bit tactical, saving fuel where I can, and it's not going to hinder me too much, especially through Luffield. There's no point being in Rich Mix. That's all about traction really. And obviously on the exit of Beckett's, as I mentioned earlier on in this video, towards Stowe, that's going to be the biggest part where we gain time and where the kind of oomph of Rich Mix is really going to come in handy. So this entire time when we're being hit with dirty air from Perez's exhaust plumes, we may as well just be in standard. We actually go down to lean mixture through Magnus Beckett's, because I know I can gain a lot more time against Perez through here, so we may as well go lean, and then on the exit, once we plant the power, then go up into Rich Mix, open DRS, and this will be the best strategy for us today to try and see if we can overtake him. So here we go, gaining and gaining, so we go towards Stowe, then go to the right hand side, Perez goes defensive to the left hand side, and down the inside we go side by side. Perez able to keep it there, and he's going to force us a little bit right, and we have to wiggle around. We go fake a little bit to the right, go down the inside, try and nip our nose in there, but Perez, fair play, parks the bus on the second phase of that chicane, and through the final corner puts me off then, and we have to sit behind once again in P3. So Perez, you know, doing some great defensive work. And the moment you can see now, we were in red on the fuel gauge before I went into lean mixture through Magnus and Beckett. So just kind of proving my point that we were quite critical on the fuel as we go on to the end of the second last lap of the Grand Prix. Lap 25, we go to the left hand side though this time, up in standard mixture now, just about on the cusp of optimum fuel with DRS open, able to make that move actually pretty easily around the outside of Stowe. We're going towards the chicane now, back in lean mixtures to try and save some more fuel as we go through the last few corners. Of course, that'll also help the traction as well as try and straighten out the car, try and get the power down as early as possible. But because I stay in lean mixture down this main pit straight, then Perez able to get a good enough run with standard, or I'm assuming maybe Rich Mix, sends it down the inside of turn 1, and I just don't have the turn in there, and he's already got it into Village. But that will give us the DRS crucially back again as we go down towards Luffield. So a bit of a cat and mouse game at the moment between me and Sergio Perez. Of course, as I mentioned, there's no one behind us really, there's no one ahead of us. It's just a straight fight between two teammates for second or third on the podium. Either way, we're both going to finish on the podium. It's just really about the glory of getting second or third, and obviously 3 more points for second rather than third. So now here we go, closing up again as we go through into Luffield. Then we're actually going to try and kind of feather the throttle and try and tease it around the outside. We get a little tiny bit of our front wing around the outside. Doesn't quite work out though. Perez does go a little bit wide though on the exit, and so that will compromise his run. It looks like we'll just have enough speed to send it to the inside of Cops, to the inside. Surely he's going to have to lift off to give us some space. Bit of banging of the tyres. The hand of anger goes up on the left hand side. We're still keeping our foot in there, and we're going to go neck and neck towards Maggots and Beckett as we go into the apex, the same place where Bottas and Hulkenberg made contact. We make some contact. I just about hold it through, pushing flat out on the exit of Beckett, and a snap of oversteer there. You can see just how hard I'm trying to wrestle this car into a straight line. Then Rich Mix open now. This is why I saved that fuel crucially right at the end where it matters. We have Rich Mix punching through there into Stowe. DRS open. We get it at the death. Lewis Hamilton is going to win the British Grand Prix. But on the final few corners, we get it. Lock up on the right, so I go a little bit slowly, and we're just going to park it on the apex then and see this through the final corner, and it will be second place at the British Grand Prix. Perez in third place there. Absolutely fantastic way to end off that race. But what a fun battle that was all race long with Perez. You know, firstly closing up to him, having to sweat out so many laps up until lap 23 to even catch up to him, and then having such an awesome ding-dong battle with him at the end there. And it's a Brit 1-2, always good to see. But Hamilton completely dominated that race. But as I said, you know, the 2 Mercedes cars look pretty good, and obviously Bottas has issues, but it's all Mercedes-powered podium. So definitely this weekend, on this season, the Mercedes-powered cars have had the advantage around the British Grand Prix. Absolutely great. 18 points. Perez 15 there, and Raikkonen a little bit down the order means we do move up into first place of the Drivers' World Championship by 4 points then. Really awesome. Hamilton moves up ahead of Verstappen for the first time in third then, so Hamilton slowly maybe making a little bit of a late kind of slowish consistent charge on the championship. And Force India as a team, we overtake Ferrari now, leading them by 1 single point. Absolutely awesome stuff to see. Force India leading the constructors for the first time ever. Absolutely great. So let's see how far we can hold that on to, and we'll see in the next episode. But going to the end of the episode then, we purchased the major chassis weight reduction then, and so that is going to come in 4 weeks time. But that is going to obviously just add to the straight line speed and obviously the performance in the corners, having a lighter car to kind of switch it around. It'll be a bit more nimble, so I've gone with that. Obviously we've now got to the ultimate upgrades basically for drag reduction, so didn't feel like doing those, and I didn't feel like doing any of the major front or rear downforce ones because that might send the car out of whack with a bit of balance, I thought, in my opinion. So we've gone for the chassis weight reduction, just, you know, all round, just making the car lighter. So guys, if you have enjoyed that episode though, absolutely great battle with Perez, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been Aarava. Hope you enjoy it the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.